Hello to you guys and welcome back to the channel. In our last interview scheduling report, I said that I would find the time to provide you guys with explanation as it relates to the end of the scheduling of interviews for the DV 2025 program. That's the biggest question at the moment when it comes to DV 2025 applicants, and so I decided that in this video I'm going to address the issue. So let's go into that. Now, some of you guys are aware that the diversity visa program runs on a 2-month scheduling and conduct of interviews basis. In other words, when interviews are scheduled in the diversity visa program, those interviews actually take place in the second month following their scheduling. So if we should consider an example, if we should take the month of March, for example, interviews that are scheduled in the month of March are generally conducted in the second month after March, that is the month of May. If interviews are scheduled in the month of April, generally those interviews are conducted in the second month, that is the month of June, and so on. That is how the scheduling and conduct of interviews in the DV program works. So when we get to the end of a month, that should be the official ending of the scheduling of interviews for the second month. Now, there are cases, and that occurs like every month, there are cases when the scheduling of interviews goes over to the beginning of the following month. So, if we should take the month of March that I just spoke about, there are cases when interviews for the month of May that should be scheduled in the month of March happen to go over to the month of April, the beginning of April. It could go for a number of days. It could also continue into or up to a week or sometimes beyond a week. But one thing that you guys should be aware of is that what marks the ending of the scheduling of interviews in the case of late scheduling is the publication of the visa bulletin. Once the visa bulletin is published, it means that it is time for KCC to begin to send out interview notifications concerning the following month. Now, if we should apply that to the DV 2025 program currently, the final month of the DV 2025 program, or all diversity visa programs for that matter, is the month of September. In the case of DV 2025, it is September 2025. So considering the 2-month scheduling and conduct of interviews system that I just spoke about, it means that the interviews that should take place in the month of September should be scheduled in the month of July. So by the time you get to the month of July, that should be the official ending of the scheduling of interviews for the month of September, which is the last month of the diversity visa program. But remember, I just spoke about late scheduling. So late scheduling would allow some cases to be scheduled at the beginning of August. You could have scheduling going on in the first few days of the month of August. It could continue up to or continue for a week. It could also go beyond a week. But like in the case of every other month before August, what would announce the end of interview scheduling is the publication of the visa bulletin. When the visa bulletin is published in the month of August, it is time for the ongoing diversity visa program to come to an end, to give way to the beginning of scheduling of interviews for the new program. The publication of the visa bulletin in the month of August, that is what it does. It marks the transition between the old program or the ongoing program, and the program that is about to kick off. Now, a couple of days ago, the visa bulletin that should be published in this month of August was published. So that marked the end of the scheduling of interviews for the DV 2025 program, and it has given way to the beginning of scheduling of interviews for the DV 2026 program. So this week, the week that we find ourselves in, that is the second week in this month of August, should be considered as the final week for the scheduling of interviews in the DV 2025 program. So henceforth, KCC will now turn their attention to sending out interview notifications for applicants or to applicants of the DV 2026 program, the program that will commence in the month of October. Remember the 2-month scheduling and conduct of interviews system that I spoke about earlier. That is how it works. And so we could say that a few days ago was the ending of the scheduling of interviews for the DV 2025 program. In other words, this has been the final week for the scheduling of interviews in the DV 2025 program. It will actually take a miracle for DV 2025 applicants to receive interview notifications next week and beyond. Now, this is not meant to discourage you guys, but this is meant to explain to you guys how things work in the diversity visa program so that you cannot continue waiting and hoping. Just in case there are some interviews that are scheduled beyond this week, which I said is like impossible, it will actually be just very, very few. Now, some of you guys are aware that the scheduling of interviews continued late into August and in some cases into September in recent years. And so you guys have been expecting or hoping that that will be repeated in the DV 2025 program. But let me be frank with you, do not hope on that. Things actually happened that way at the time because of COVID-19. That was one of the effects of COVID-19. During the fiscal year, or at some point during the fiscal year, the program was shut down. And so when it resumed, in order for KCC to schedule as many interviews as possible, that was the reason why the scheduling of interviews went far into August and in some cases into September. But for this year, that is not expected to happen. And as I usually say, at this time of the year, not being scheduled for interview or not succeeding with the diversity visa program is not the end of your life. Your life goes on. Keep your head up high and continue to work on your goals. And at the end of the day, you will be encouraged and smile again. All right, so that is it. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching it. It has been a pleasure providing you guys with information concerning the DV 2025 program for the last year. So take care and God bless. Until another time, perhaps, goodbye.